picking up, learning the offense from what the guys are teaching him. But he's a guy that's got a really good catch radius when you watch this tape coming out of junior college. A great physical, big body, and so we're excited. We're excited to get him out there. I'm excited to get, Will Mallory back out there healthy. A lot of guys that we didn't have in the spring. Jalen Knighton, even Don Chaney. Those are guys that we didn't have as far as different pieces that we haven't had a chance to evaluate. And so, a big part of camp is going to be trying to figure out what those guys do best and putting them in position to be successful.
Jill Skinner was with you guys. You told us I think he's at 225 now. I know you play a whole lot of tight ends. Do you see him being in this rotation, definitely getting some work this year?
Well, Jaleel, we just got to keep coming along, developing the physicality in the game and preparing his body for what a college season is really all about. Obviously, he's blessed with some tremendous tools athletically, but that's a really good tight end room, and it's a tight end room that you want a young player like that to be involved in and being able to learn, from Elijah and from Will. And even from Don Marinelli. So, we're really excited about that group, what they bring, the flexibility they bring, and, we'll find creative ways to use them as an important piece of our offense.
What would you say about Will? Came back, has a lot of experience, a good team guy.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was probably bummed, in the spring when we lost him. I think the world of Will. I think he's a really talented player. I think he's very smart football player, and the leadership and the traits. If you could give me, 84 other Will Mallorys, man, we'd have a very, very talented team and a great program. And so, he just does everything that we ask of him. And the whole key now is we got to get him ready for the season. We got to get him to the season. Obviously, his health has been, something of a concern, but, our strength staff, our medical staff has done a phenomenal job, bringing him along, and we're excited to get him back.
Coach Gattis, you have a lot of receivers, seems like every year in the last few years. Lots of receivers, but we're not really sure. Last year, there were a couple of stars who left. What would you say about the receiving core? And we know a couple of them are set, but what's the situation there?
Yeah, it's a very young and inexperienced group, and then obviously, that creates challenges, but it creates opportunities. It's how you really look at it and perceive it. And so, although there may not be some returning production, there's some people in that room that are eager to step up into new roles. And so, the whole key that's got to come out of that room by the end of camp is consistency each and every day in how we approach things, consistency in the level of play. And although, there may not be some signature name that everyone knows of today, we're looking for production overall as an offensive unit. And however we get that production is what's going to dictate our offensive success.
Charleston Rambo came in last year and he was doing what he did. Frank Latson was the main in the beginning, and then he had some injuries and stuff. How would you describe his game? Where is he now? What can he do for this offense?
Yeah, Frank's done a phenomenal job just coming in, just getting acclimated. He really, he's been here the longest, having arrived in December. And so, obviously he's blessed with some physical talent there, and he's a great young man. He's very coachable, learns extremely well, and we're excited about him. We're excited. I think the spring was a little bit for him to get his feet down on the ground and not be so nervous, learn the locker room, learn the lay of the land, obviously being, here at Miami, but now he's more comfortable. And so with that confidence that he's able to carry over from the spring, I'm expecting a big fall from Frank.
The talent of the receiver room, are you comfortable with it? Do you feel like you have enough talent, someone to step up?
We got enough talent purely as a team, and that's the exciting thing. It's just really kind of, figuring out all the different pieces and putting them in position to be successful. And, I think the key is just going to be the consistency, of being able to display that talent each and every day, staying committed and focused on our goals at hand, and really, just being an unselfish team, really developing a team-first mentality. But overall, we are, we're excited, across the board about all the talent we have. And now, obviously, we've got to put it together. We've got a long way to go and a lot of work to do. I don't think any one group is as finished product as what we want them to be. They still have to learn our system, and they still have to continue to grow as football players. But, that's what training camp is for. That's the exciting thing. There's going to be new people that pop up, create new roles for themselves. And by the end of fall camp, it's us as coaches to find as many creative ways to use those guys to the best of their ability.
What's impressive about Tyler's approach, just being around the board here in the summer, how he approaches the work?
I think the thing that's exciting about Tyler is his mature approach that he takes to everything. I mean, it doesn't matter if he's working out on the field or in the weight room, going to class. He approaches everything with a business-like mindset. I mean, he's very mature. He's a great football player, but he's an even smarter football player. He's a guy that you don't have to tell twice certain things. He learns from his mistakes relatively fast. And for him, I think the exciting thing is, carrying over some of the freshman confidence or some of the exciting things, but there's still so much more room to grow when you look at him from a situational football standpoint and just understanding different situations in the game. I think that's going to be the biggest growth for him. It's not necessarily from a physical standpoint, but the mental aspect of game experience, creating those actual learning experiences for him from his freshman year.
Josh, you used the word creative a lot, and of the coordinators around the country, you've probably been as creative using tight ends as just about anybody. You seem to appreciate what you can do with that position a lot. You've got 3 good ones this year. Will there be times when we see even 3 of them on the field at a time?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be creative with all of our personnel. That's running backs, tight ends, receivers, heck, even offensive linemen. It's a personnel-driven offense, and that's first and foremost. We do what our players do best, and we find as many creative ways to use and maximize those players' talents. And so, whether that's 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, 4 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 6 offensive linemen, you name it. We've got a lot of different personnel packages, and it's really to create stress on opposing teams' defenses. But we will be as creative in finding as many ways to get our playmakers the ball.
Where did the tight end position affection on your part come from? Obviously, you picked that up along the way. Was it Bama or Michigan? Where did you really come to appreciate the things that you can do with a tight end?
Well, I think when you look at the tight end position, it allows you to do as much as you want to do offensively. And I've been around different tight ends. I've had success, with different tight ends as far as, Mike Gesicki, Hale Henniges that we had in the past, Herb Smith, and some of the names, that we even had previous institution. And so a lot of different type players, whether there was big inline Ys, H's, you name it. But the tight end position allows you to have great flexibility in what you do, especially in the run game. You look across the NFL today, there's certain teams that, they don't have a physical tight end. They keep the tight ends so far away from the run game. For us, our tight ends allow us to create the identity of our run game, and that carries over into the flexibility in our pass game.
Another thing, like you have an elite quarterback that you're working with this year, no doubt about it. Usually guys in your position want to just sling it all over the field with a guy like that. But you've shown that you appreciate the run game, and I imagine there will be times during this season where you're going to want those guys up front on the offensive line to deliver for you.
Absolutely. What you do offensively, and this is something I firmly believe in, offensive identity creates team identity. And you've got to be able to establish the line of scrimmage. That's offensively and defensively. The better you are, obviously, being able to create that identity up front on offense, it's just going to make your defensive line tough. It's going to build the identity of your overall football team. And so, Coach Mirabal has done a great job developing that group, him and Coach Cristobal. And we're really excited because we believe that we can be really, really good up front with the talent and the bodies that we have up there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. We met with all these guys, and every one of them bigger, stronger. You can see the change in their mindset that's come from that. The confidence that being bigger and stronger breeds and all that. And it all kind of feeds in with each other, doesn't it?
It does. And just, the confidence of that group gelling together, playing as one. And I think that's the biggest change that we'll be able to see in this team is our ability to run the ball. And I think, I think what our guys are going to have the ability to do up front, I think they're got a little bit of a chip. I think, they want to be able to establish the physicality in games to being able to win, and whether that's win games late in the game or set the tone for games early in the game. And when you look at the talent that we have across the offensive line, we may not be as deep as some teams across the country, but we're as talented. And I think that group will be a big group to help lead us forward.
Running backs, you've got 4 very different guys, and they're really 5. But, there's going to be a lot of competition there. And you're going to have to get creative probably a little bit with those guys as well, and how you use them and get them involved and keep them engaged, I would say. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Coach Smith does a great job just, trying to keep that room as balanced as possible. And one of the things that I've always been around in my past is playing multiple backs. I think the days of giving one running back, 50 carries and having them have 200 yards are over. So you've got to have a good staple to being able to keep that group healthy, keep that group fresh. Obviously, we've battled some injuries in that group in the past, but the main thing is we got to keep them healthy. We do have some talent. I'm excited, to get Jalen Knighton and Don Chaney back out there. Obviously, we're adding in Trevante Citizen. We've got some names in there that being able to throw into the mix and find some creative ways to use those guys. And I think the flexibility of them all will really allow us to be as multiple as we need to, because we have great runners, we have great pass catchers out of the backfield. I think we really do have running backs that can do it all.
Can you use as many as 4 of them at a time in a game?
Not on one play, but within a game, absolutely. That's just a position that just takes a lot of wear and tear. Obviously, the physical approach that we take in a run game, trying to be a downhill run team, those backs are going to be asked to create a lot of different roles for themselves. Whether that's catching passes out of the backfield, running for first downs on third down, fourth down, short yardage situations. We'll find as many creative ways to use them. There are some two-back things that we like to do, and there's some two-back things that are really advantageous for us when you look at attacking opposing teams. And so we're excited. We got to continue to grow in that room. I don't think we're a finished product yet, but we have the pieces to continue to develop them.
And just to sum it all up, it seems like going into camp, you got a lot of options. You got a lot of buttons you can push, a lot of ways that you can go with this offense. Do you go into camp with a clean slate, or do you feel like I've got an idea of what I want to do now?
No, it's, really spring ball is about installing the offense and teaching the system. And we probably accomplished about 70 to 80% of what we wanted to accomplish in the spring as far as install. But fall camp is going to be more strategic. Now it's about building an offensive identity. Now it's about reflecting back on our off-season, self-scout, cut-ups, looking at the new pieces that we're adding to our offense and figure out what they do best. That, by 2 weeks of our fall camp, that we've developed and established an identity for this football team and for this offense.
Your trip here to the University of Miami, Mario Cristobal is the man in charge. Tell me what it's been like here at the beginning with Coach Cristobal.
Just awesome. Tremendous leader. How much knowledge you're able to gain each and every day, and how he leads and drives a program. He really, from the day he wakes up in the morning till the minute he wakes up in the morning to the minute you fall asleep. He's driving the direction of the program. It's hard to outpace him, whether that's in recruiting, his energy, effort. He's the first one in the building, last one out of the building. And so really inspires us as a coaching staff to really bring out our very best. And so, this has been refreshing. Each and every opportunity you take as a coach, there's more that you learn, and there's so much growth that you have as a coach with each and every new head coach. And so being able to learn him and his system of how we do things here, and you can just tell the championship mentality that he has, the caliber of coach that he is, that he's been tremendously successful with this program that we have in place for these kids.
All right, 2 more questions. One of them being that, what do you expect the Hurricanes offense to look like as you try to put your stamp on it? I know you've had a chance to work with the guys in the spring, and now you've progressed, probably seen enough film over here to the summer as we get closer to the regular season.
Well, I'm excited and anxious. I think that's what fall camp's all about, is really creating that identity. And obviously we got some new pieces that we didn't have quite in the spring that I'm excited to work with. And, I think each team and each year you have to be different as a coordinator. If you try to be the same, everyone's going to catch up to you. They're going to, self-scout you, have your tendencies from previous year. And so, we're excited. I don't know quite yet what we will be or who we will look like, but we will do what's best for our players. And I think that's the biggest thing as a coach, is put your players in position to be successful and do what they do best.
Do you have any particular thing you feel running game or passing game will be a little stronger than the other? Because it seems like, what I can tell so far, that there seems to be a degree of balance.
Yeah, well, I think we're looking forward to improving our running numbers, first and foremost. And I think with the guys up front, our offensive line that we have, Coach Mirabal, and our running backs with Coach Smith, we have to run the ball better. Now, what those numbers look like, those are kind of dictated by game flow. So I'm not willing to say we'll be 50-50, 40-60 or anything like that. We'll just do whatever it takes to win the games and put our kids in position to be successful.
My final question, Tyler Van Dyke, what do you like about this guy so far? What have you seen?
Tremendous knowledge and, just his football knowledge. Just a student of the game. He's very coachable. You don't have to correct him twice, and obviously he's a really talented player, and I'm excited to get out there and work with him, because I think he's going to be able to take over the confidence that he established basically as a freshman and carry that over into a sophomore year.
Well, Coach, I can tell you I'm glad that you're in South Florida with me, and I don't regret saying it, being from Hometown, Farmington Hills, and I look forward to working with you this year. Thank you so much for the time,
Thanks,
Coach.
Scott.
God bless it. Like I said, I look forward to the day that you become a head job because you certainly deserve it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care.
Hi, Coach.
Thank
One
you.
dash, one, sir.
Sorry.
Which position group are you most excited to look forward to in fall camp to see who really emerges?
I think the position group that I'm really excited about is the offensive line. I think that's the one that you always start building your identity in your football team. We've got some new pieces in there that we didn't quite have in the spring, right? Jalen Rivers and, getting Zion Nelson back up to full speed health-wise, as well as adding John Campbell back into that mix. And so, I think we have a chance up front to be very physical, be very big and strong, but we got to stay healthy. We're not as deep as some of the teams across the country are, but we are as talented. And I think if we can develop a starting five that we can keep consistent throughout our season, I think we got a chance to really be special in whatever we do, because they're going to allow us to have the time to throw the ball and allow us to create the lanes to run the ball. So it's got to start with the group up front.
Josh, I wanted to ask about Colby Young. What was the skill there that intrigued you that made you want to add him as a late spring, early summer addition?
I think when you look at Colby, first thing you saw about his tape was a guy with tremendous ball skills and a big catch radius. And so he's done a great job coming in, getting acclimated, learning our system, being able to thrust himself right into our strength program, and really just getting himself into South Florida shape, right? Because that's a whole different deal right there. But I'm excited. I'm excited to get out there and get a chance to coach him and just figure out, how many different creative ways that we can use all of our players and create roles for them this fall.
And with Rashard Smith, is he a receiver or is he a Harvin type multi-purpose weapon?
He's a receiver, which we use our receivers in a lot of different ways. I think all of our receivers, we find creative ways to use a lot of different ways, whether that's in the run game, pass game, have different type of creative mismatches that we can use them in. And so, but we're excited. Rashad's still got to continue to come a long way. And I think overall as a group, he's got to continue to come a long way. And so, I think consistency in our daily approach and how we do things each and every day is going to be the biggest thing coming out of fall.
Now, team speed has always been kind of a focus for you. Where do you think the team is right now as far as team speed and where do you want it to be?
Yeah, team speed is, obviously that's a big piece. We want to develop, over our time here, we want to develop the fastest team in the league. And I think, I don't hide from that. Everywhere I've been, it's about recruit as much speed as possible and develop a fast football team. I think that's what allows you to win championships. And our guys have done a great job in our running program. Coach Field has done a great job this summer going through speed school with our players, which they do twice a week, just focusing on speed mechanics, running mechanics. And so I think that's going to be a big piece, is allowing us to build that identity to be fast out on the football field. But we've got to do that the right way. We've got to do it within the framework of our systems, offensively, defensively, and special teams. And we've got to have some exciting players step up and be exciting players on game day.
You mentioned speed school. If you could just expand on that.
Yeah, Coach Field does a great job with that. He calls it speed school, where they're out here all hooked up to GPS system. They're running miles per hour, sleds, bands, and they're teaching them the correct running form. And I think that's a big piece because track is something that I love so much, is I think is a lost sport today in high school football. A lot of guys now are doing high school football and doing 7-on-7, and they're losing that time out on the track. And Coach Field, by the mechanics, and we're doing a lot of bounds and jump, and just our overall strength program is tremendous. Well, they've been able to teach these guys how much more faster they've made them, how much more explosive they made them, and we're looking forward to that carrying over on the football field.
At running back, you have a lot of options, obviously. Many guys who could make a case for the starting job with Cheney, Knighton, Parrish, obviously Citizen, Franklin will have something to say. Can you realistically split first-team snaps among 3 to 5 players in August to give all of them a chance?
Well, I think for those guys, you're going to start to see separation needs to happen in the fall. I mean, obviously we're going to start adding some newer pieces, right? We didn't have Don Cheney, we didn't have Jalen Knighton, we didn't have Trevante Citizen. So when you look at our running back room in the spring, we were down to about 2 bodies. If not, it was going to be me. And so I think the exciting thing now is getting healthier bodies in there. We've got to keep those guys healthy. We've got to keep them fresh. But the days of having one running back have 50 carries in a game and 200 yards are over. One of the things that I've always been around in my past is playing multiple backs. What number that may be, whether that's 3 or 4 or whether that's 2. I think we've got to be able to find creative ways to split carries and touches and creative ways to use our backs, not just having running backs that carry the ball out of backfield, but being able to have great pass-catching backs and create more opportunities for those guys.
When people look at this offense in the fall, what do you want them to leave with?
just a sound group that plays a great brand of fundamental football, that plays hard, plays fast, obviously develops a physical mindset. Physicality is going to be first and foremost. We want to be physical in everything we do, and that's not just in the run game. That's down the field blocking in the pass game. That's pass protection, keeping our quarterbacks clean. One of the things that our system has done a great job over the years is keeping our quarterbacks protected. We've got to do a great job in the protection standpoint to allow our quarterbacks to be great decision makers, to allow our playmakers to make plays out on perimeter. And so we want to be a physical, we want to be a smart, and we want to be a precise football team. We want to play great fundamental brand and create explosive plays.
Was there anyone either Restrepo or any other receiver where you ended the spring saying this guy has taken a step ahead of the others?
I think I like where we ended the spring, but I'm not too far down that road to label one individual player. I think consistency as a group is where we've got to continue to challenge ourselves. Obviously, it's a very young and inexperienced group, and we've got to be willing to take the next step in everything that we do. And we're talking about consistency. We're talking about how we do anything is how we do everything. Class, weight room, football. I think our group has got to mature, and we have the pieces needed. We just got to be able to take the next step from a maturity standpoint and come along.
Last thing for me, just on receivers. Josh, did Keyshawn and Jacoby end the spring close to where you wanted them, or is there still a great distance between where they are as receivers, Keyshawn Smith, Jacoby George, and where you think they can and should be?
Well, I think spring, you always end that with wanting to learn your systems, wanting to know how to do certain things that you ask of them. But now, as we transition into fall, it's about how can they carry over that confidence and execution from the spring to the fall, which will allow them to continue to make plays. But I really did feel pleased with where our guys ended up from where they started spring to where they ended up. But all that now is irrelevant because now as fall approaches, now it's about, they're going to start keeping score pretty soon. So we've got to continue to develop all of our position groups and bring them along the very well as we can.
Thanks so much. You coached like a number of different types of groups along your journey, passing game coordinator being one of them. Now you're the wide receivers coach and the offensive coordinator. So how are you kind of balancing those two? And is one getting more emphasis than the other? And are you getting assistance from other assistant coaches?
Yeah, so that's always one that I've always done. Obviously being a coordinator and being a receiver coach, and it's one that I love because it also allows our quarterbacks to get full-time coached by a quarterback coach. And so it's nothing. I'm not juggling any new balls that I haven't done before in the past. But we've got a great group in that room, if analysts and graduate assistants that continue to help. But that's my baby. That's, I've always, through my past, always developed wide receivers, and that's where my passion is. It starts there. But, the biggest challenge as a coordinator is not being solely locked into that position. My job is to create an offensive identity and create a successful offense. And, however we do that, whether that's throwing to tight ends, throwing to receivers, most receiver coaches, they only care about just their position. But for me, to wear both hats, I've got to protect our offense first and foremost, and that's developing the identity and putting people in position to be successful.
Is that something that you wanted to do in Miami?
Absolutely. It's something I've always wanted to do in my career, and that's where I've established, my success. Developing that position, developing past games and all. And so, I never wanted to step away from what, got me to this position. And being able to develop kids fundamentally, and that's what I love doing, and that's where my passion's been, as well as developing offenses.
What did you learn about Tyler?
Yeah, just tremendous. Man, I love Tyler, man. I appreciate it. I just love TVD. Just overall, just his maturity. How mature he is in everything that he does, whether that's in the weight room, out here working out, whether that's going to class. He's a guy that's a student of the game. You don't have to tell him twice. If he makes a mistake, he's going to learn immediately from that mistake, and you won't see it repeat. And so that's the exciting thing. Your quarterback has got to drive the culture of your program. And when you talk about who would you want to put on a media guide or out the face of the front of your program, there's no one better than TVD. And so I'm really excited to get back to work with him in this fall and really continue to allow him to. He picked up the offense phenomenal this spring. And so, there's no growing pains. Now it's about carrying over that confidence from his freshman year on to his sophomore year.
He was losing a ton of catches from last year's roster. Bill Malley, I know a lot of people one of the best catches. Can he be number one receiver? Can he be the guy
guy?
Oh, absolutely.
Like the most reliable, even if he doesn't lead the team in yards.
Absolutely. Will Mallory's a special talent. I love him just as much as I love TBD. I mean, just a very, very special player. And, you know, our key for him is just keeping him healthy there throughout all our games. But he's really talented. He's fast. He's long. He's got great ball skills. He's a big-time talent. You know, I think he's one of the more underrated players across the country. You know, when you look at Will and you know, what he brings to an offensive system. And so a lot of creative ways that we can use him. But overall, it's the consistency of our offense. You know, although we may not have a leading number one receiver, number two receiver, you know, that those productions will be picked up by someone or by some unit. Necessarily, we don't focus necessarily on the individuals as we do the overall system, and whether that's, you know, production by committee or production by multiple different position groups. Our main goal is just keeping that production high and steady for us offensively.
This might be a dumb question, but do you have like at the skill positions, do you have like an ideal number of guys who would like to play in each spot, like rotate in?
Well, you know, that's always a challenge. You know, yeah, it's you know, you know, if you look at most recently some of the different teams that I've been a part of, we've played multiple different positions at every position, and that's great because it builds a luxury of depth. However, you're not going to have the same type numbers, right? One of the benefits of having a guy have 1,000 yards or having, you know, two guys here previously in the past have 1,000 yards is those were the only two guys that played, you know, and so you're in a position where you've got a bunch of new guys who haven't had quite the experience, and so when you play more people, you build greater depth, which ultimately in the long term sustains program success rather than having the ups and downs or drop offs within a program. And so, but we'll play as many guys that deserve it. You know, I think that's the thing first as a coach. There's guys that create roles for themselves. We'll find those roles and put them in position to be successful.
What have you seen from Colby Young that we didn't expect out of him?
Yeah, Kobe's done a great job just coming in, getting acclimated. You know, he's a guy that really jumped in the program in the middle of June. But, you know, I'm excited because I haven't really had a chance to work with him yet on the field. Obviously, he possessed great ball skills, and he's a big body with a long catch radius. And we'll find as many creative ways to use him. You know, I think, you know, getting him acclimated and getting him caught up in the system is going to be a challenge because he doesn't have a spring ball that some of the other guys did. And so for him, it's going to be very important that, you know, he approaches this fall camp with a business-like mindset, being able to come in and learn as much as possible, as fast as possible, to allow him to be successful on the field.
What about Horton, another freshman that came in? What did you see?
Yeah, Isaiah's done a great job the same way. You know, he's another guy that brings great size and a great body to him. Very mature. He's already hanging out with the older guys. Oftentimes got to remind him, you know, hey, you're still a freshman. But for him, that's not the approach that he takes. And so I'm excited for him and Colby because those are two pieces that we didn't have. And specifically from the spring, right, we didn't quite have as much size as those two guys bring to the table. And so, you know, I think their ball skills, their ability to transition in and out of cuts is going to be very important and learn our system. And then for us to put them in position to be successful. But excited about those two guys.
How excited
thank you.
have you been to scheme stuff up for Brashard?
Yeah, I think, you know, for Brashard, I mean, I think, you know, throughout my past, I think just overall usage of wide receivers is something that, you know, I've probably done or excelled at that not a lot of people do, as far as many creative ways to, you know, have your wide receivers be part of your offense without them just being wide receivers. And that's for all of our guys. It's not just Brashard Smith. That's for, you know, all of absolutely.
Think of him as like the running back, wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean,
are there other guys you think?
We're going to do it with all of our receivers, and so, you know, that's the exciting thing about what we do is the flexibility and the identity that we're able to do. But, you know, for Brashard, you know, I'm excited for him to take that next step and challenge himself mentally, physically, and mature himself as a football player. You know, I think when you look at him out there being a freshman last year, now he needs to take that next step in the maturity phase, being able to grow on the field, grow off the field, and that's the exciting thing. You know, being able to see these guys make that jump from being freshmen to sophomores.
How exciting, I guess, is it being a part of this operation of coaching this kind of thing? And, you know, obviously you guys are doing a great job and all that stuff. Just to walk over, you know, kind of being on your end, trying to put all this together and kind of build this thing up, you know?
Yeah, this, well, first and foremost, you can't lack any energy with Coach Cristobal's drive. You know, I mean, he's driving the passion and the intensity of our recruiting department. And it's unparalleled for me because to see a head coach work at the work ethic that he has, You can't beat him in the office, and you can't outstay him in the office. He just drives everything from messages with families to who we're recruiting and really developing the mindset of our recruiting. And so you've seen the results pay off, and that's directly dribbling from top down. And so to have a head coach that recruits with that type of intensity is tremendous. But we're also in a new day and age in recruiting. This has been, just a new experience this year. Just in recruiting across the country. I think it's been more different this year than any other year, and obviously we're off to a great start with a great class, but we've still got a long way to go. And I think the next biggest step for us to take the next stage in recruiting is winning football games, because that's your biggest recruiting tool. Being able to go out there on Saturdays this fall and win games to establish the confidence in our program that not only are we great recruiters, but we're also great coaches.
You had two obviously in the class. I know we can't talk about names and all that stuff, but is there a certain type you're maybe looking to complement those guys with? Is there any sort of like boxes you want maybe the next wide receivers to check? Or what are you just sort of looking for to like round out the wide receivers?
Well, we've got to continue to add to all of our skill, and one of the things that we always put a premium on in recruiting any type of skill players is speed and dynamic playmaking ability. We want to recruit explosive players here. In order for us to be the most explosive team and the most explosive offense in the country, we've got to have great explosive players. And whether that's speed, size, whatever it may be, that's always an attribute for us. Whether that's at the running back position, the receiver position, is to recruit dynamic players across the country.